Spirit Snacks back. Hey.
Hey.
So this is our life. Like Sophia's like, let's do this one. Okay, let's do it. We get these ideas.
I love this idea. I love this one.
Okay, so I was inspired. Basically, like our life, we don't really share anything we haven't gone through. Just so you know, like these are things that we have gone through or by life experience. Enter
Yeah.
the eye roll emoji. And so this is kind of what happened to me over the last week and weekend. And then I got kind of this insight today from a few wise other women, but also my own meditation. So just real quick. So I'm Daniela, and that's Sophia. And she's kind of like the guru. Like you imagine her like with her like totem pole and her garb. And I would say I'm like the new awakened soul.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm older sister, she's younger sister, whatever. Anyway, so here we are. So the topic is your heart never breaks, your ego does. And I think it's especially powerful when you are in that place of either a big thing in your life, like, I don't know, a death, just a big breaking point, a breakup, a big move, like some place where you just feel you life gets your attention and you know, or an illness. Yep. And it's okay. I just want to say, I think it's totally fine to go through the motion of you become, for me, I'm always the victim first. Like you feel victim-y and you vent for a minute and you sit in that and you let the feelings go through you. That's okay. It's normal. It's like life. And then there's the space of the pain. And for me, just because I've had a lot of experience with broken in the last few years, but it's through my whole life, it brings up, the more aware I get to it, the more it brings up, oh, this is a past pain repetition from the time I was born, like in the womb. It just keeps coming. So anyways, I had a weekend, and thank God I was busy with work all weekend. I was actually telling my girlfriend, I'm so glad I'm busy because I know better than not to sit in this crap. This is not for me to sit in and wallow in. I know better now these days. But, it's just feelings of just life coming at me as it always does. But they were just steps in the progression of like post-divorce, but also could feel like I could wallow in feeling rejected, feeling unseen, feeling unheard, my voice being quieted, feeling unworthy, not feeling good enough. Those are all my fun things that I deal with, right? We all have things. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of those things could have taken me down any of those roads, but I listened to, so I love Megan Watterson, and she wrote the book Reveal, and I'm part of her lady circle tribe, the Red Ladies. You can find her online. And actually this is something she just said this in her talk. I think she recorded it yesterday, but so this quote is actually from her. But to expand further on it, and Sophia can dive in anytime, but basically when you are broken open, I mean, there's all those quotes. Was it by Osho that says, that's where the light comes in? If you sit with that and really think about that, there's just so much truth to that. And also sitting there, when your ego cracks, to me, I'm re-guided to a better path. So my ego cracking, so basically the things that were coming at me were all just like ego attachment in my work and ego attachment in my heart and what relationship can look like, or just ego attachment to healing post-divorce and all these things. And it's almost like you take a step back and you're like, yeah, but it's still all the same, really. I just had my mind and my ego attached to like a certain journey or a certain outcome or a way it could be.
And what, like you had that like a futuristic expectation?
Yes.
and then something happens and it triggers you to fall back.
Yep. Or really just stay still. Honestly, I don't even think we fall backwards. I think we just stay where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize being here is pretty awesome. There's nothing wrong with being right here.
Yeah.
And perhaps all those ways in the different areas of my life were not the best way anyway, or just sometimes natural progression of the way things go.
So I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were processing something, and it dawned on me that it's like every time there's this reoccurring issue for this one individual, it has to reflect with the fact that every time this trigger happens, it's because it's not in line with her expectation of how she wants to be treated. So it's like there's this want, and then there's reality, and it's just a really, it's like her ego, like the ego of wanting and desiring and, you know, grasping on to what is thought to be needed or for survival or whatever, is just not being honored. And what I was doing when I was sitting with her was realizing that comes from that's her responsibility to do that for herself.
Mm-hmm.
Those triggers will always happen. Like, you can't control. It's a shame and it's sad, like, when certain people don't honor those parts of yourself as well. But who are we to keep holding on to these expectations? I don't know. Especially when it's with people that aren't capable of meeting those expectations. So it's just really interesting, like, why we would even hold on to. I mean, I do that too, for sure. But holding on to, like, this expectation that people will always, not always, but just hoping that people will come back and love us and hold us in a space that we really have been neglecting ourselves.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
That's really good. Yeah, we can't, I mean, I think what the reminder is, and this was an easier one to say this statement in my life, because these were people in work, and anyway, you can't control anybody else.
Yeah.
You can't control anybody else. So why do we have any expectation over anybody?
Yeah.
And you just said that was a gem. You got to do that in yourself.
Yeah, but it's hard because it's always for everyone. It's so easy to smell other people's shit. It's harder to smell our own shit because we're used to it. And I said the SH word. It's easy. It's easier to target other people's caca.
Yeah.
And to smell the stank than to sit with their own and really, like, take in the different layers.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, there are. But
yeah, that's why we women, especially, well, men too, but especially, it's so easy, so much easier to gossip and to criticize and put someone else down. It's like that pufferfish mentality, you know, just because you need to puff up your self rather than look at yourself, you know.
Right.
I'll take this a step further too, because this is what I got this morning, which then I'm like, but when you're willing to be in that, it's liberating.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're actually, because you're untying yourself from this specific idea.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can actually come to a place where then you are unattached. So this is like kind of deep and further into it, because it takes time. And I would say too, I've had periods of brokenness that needed to last weeks and months and probably years, honestly, or where the same thing, I mean, it's going to keep coming back. I know, you know, I've got, we all are growing all the time. So I'm not trying to say, so that period of processing and healing might take some time. You might need to stay kind of in that slower time and honoring. letting tears pass and write and stay in love and that. But the other side too, which I think can start to kind of trickle in, is it's freeing.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually because you're liberating yourself from that. You're freeing yourself, you're detaching from that one specific maybe idea from that person or whatever. And if you can even get a step further, which this kind of blows my mind, but I can at least start to feel this way, is, you know, I feel that I'm guided to even a better way.
Mm-hmm.
A better way, a better idea, a more connected pathway, because that's what I'm asking for my life right now. Like, what are you really asking for? You ask and be prepared then. It's like Carolyn Mice said, if I was your angel and you asked for this, I would bring you through this to get there.
Oh.
So, you know what I mean? Like if you asked to, you know, and bringing you through something doesn't mean it's going to be like all easy.
Yeah, right. Well, on that note, I was gonna say, like, on the topic of it's not your heart breaking, it's your ego.
Yeah.
You know, there's this really fragile balance between holding both of those, like holding the broken, shattered pieces of ego and being open and willing to explore all your patterns, all your tendencies, all your triggers that are really around whatever it is that broke, and then also holding your heart space at the same time, and just self-nurturing and caring and feeding yourself through this pain, you know, because that, like you said in the beginning, it brings up all of those stages of grief or whatever. I mean, because everything what we're talking about is a process of grief. It's like a letting go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a great way to do this, instead of, I think it's pretty easy to say that we often will deflect or project our broken ego pieces onto others, is to start using objects to work with this, you know, and to, like, writing, which you mentioned, or even picking something in nature, like a plant or a tree or a succulent or something that you could kind of use to give an image to what your broken ego pieces might look like. If they were to be a plant, or if they were to be an animal, what would they look like? Like, what would it be? Like a scaly dinosaur? Would it be a thorned rose, or you know, something where you can, like, actually give it a figure, and then go looking at that which is outside of yourself, because sometimes it's so painful and way too traumatic to go into the broken pieces. So when you can find an element, especially in nature, that can take some of that responsibility,
Like represent it.
yeah, and hold that space for you, that you can use the information that comes from you, that you can make this plant or animal represent for you. And then you can find there's a little bit more space there and some safety in working with that. So that's kind of next level, and it can kind of sound like, oh, that's kind of weird and out there, but it's actually a really great way to step into a creative process with all of this, and to kind of get away from the negativity of it all. Instead, you're just looking at the facts and the emotions, but not looking at these objects like they're evil or mean, or, you know, like, because every time you put those associations, it's like you're saying it to yourself. So you put your things outside of yourself onto something, and you're able to look at it with integrity and with awareness, then you can start to see the associations and have a script that's written out stating what these emotions are, and what the patterns are and the triggers, and you can see it. Like, for instance, you can take say you just dealt with a breakup and it's really bringing up a lot of past feelings of worthlessness or whatever, you can take maybe the image of, I don't know, I could take the image of something that I have behind me, just looking at that flower over there. Do you see that flower?
Mm-hmm.
There's this pink flower. I'll finish up quick too because I don't want to make this too long. But
Yeah.
there's a little flower. I can just look around and there it is. It's in a potted plant and everything else is doing really good except for this poor little flower. And so then I can kind of relate what I went through with the breakup with this poor little flower, and it's like struggling to stay alive. It still has its smell. There's little critters on it. There's caterpillar poop. I mean, it's haggard. It's been through it. The leaves have been eaten and nibbled. So I can start to state all the observations that I have of this that are super specific. And then I can sit with it and maybe even write a story about it and later go back and find how that relates to what I just went through. But having some compassion.
You're in the wind a little bit, so back off the wind a bit.
But having there's like a level of compassion that happens when you start doing this. It deepens because you're taking what is from here that feels so broken and torn and noticing it in something outside of yourself as well.
It brings, I was thinking, is that it would super heighten your empathy with yourself. Your
completely,
empathy.
100%. Yes.
So you're heightening all of that with it to something else. And then, energy is energy.
And
feeling love is feeling love.
Best part is that, we do this. This is what we do to individuals in our lives that we love. Like this is a intentional projection that I'm doing with this plant, but we unintentionally project onto our loved ones constantly all the time. Yeah. And that becomes toxic and dangerous often. But what's great about doing it with this plant is it's like, that's what nature is here for us to do, is to interact with it and to use the magic and the energy of the plants to help us heal. And that's one way to do it. And we can look at this as an example for when we're actually deliberately projecting onto others, and to take a step back from that. Because at least with this, we can go, okay, thank you for that. Thank you for giving me that space. But you can't, it's kind of like a therapist. Like, this is a therapeutic tool. Yeah. You can't do that with your loved ones without having old patterns keep showing up and triggers and such.
Yeah. But that could almost be another class.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really awesome. To add just a simple step. So that's I love that, to increase compassion, empathy. It's just to simply know that your soul and your heart are never broken. Yeah. And if you can even just sit, and I'll do this with my business team, is you just place your hand on your heart and just to start to feel your heartbeat, if you're brand new to any of this kind of conversation, and if you can just imagine your whole heart, your whole soul, it's never broken. It's all in there. And the other thing that I like to add, and this is not to each their own in their religious beliefs, because I don't want to start the whole conversation of the Holy Spirit, but I do believe that God is in us, however you want to term that. And that's in there too. So I like to picture it as God having a little cup of tea with my soul in my heart space. And that is never shook. It's super stable. So nature can support all this and the elements. And then I like to imagine that's all in me at all times. And that is that's your innermost, highest, wisest self. Mm-hmm. Right. And to me, it's they have a conversation and they help guide me, but I have to listen. Mm-hmm. So when things come at me, some of the enlightenment after that too is just to go back to that space. So, mm-hmm. And just to even just feel it and go, okay, I'm good no matter what. There could be a storm all around me.
Yeah, the heart still beats.
I'm solid. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we should probably wrap this up, huh?
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. That wasn't as funny as I was hoping from myself. I was kind of in this melancholy space. But
But we're about to be right next to each other. So we're hoping to crank out a few videos that we can start really, we have a list of topics we can't wait to get to. So I'm about to be in California, and hopefully it will be funny. And I can go like this while she's talking.
Hmm.
No.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Aloha.
Cool.
See you next time. Aloha.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.